Hello, welcome to the Venture Construction Company Safety Orientation. We're going to begin going over job site signage and documentation, and all safety items shall be posted, including the Code of Safe Practices. OSHA posters shall be visible and available. Safety manual and SDS manual shall be accessible to everyone. Weekly toolbox safety training sessions must be documented. All federal, state, and local employment notices shall be posted and easily accessible. All employees shall be aware of the Employee Emergency Action Plan, and job hazard analysis reports should be conducted daily. Going over to the drug and alcohol policy for Venture. Drugs, alcohol, and working under the influence of drugs or alcohol is strictly forbidden on all Venture construction projects. If you are injured in an accident, you will be tested for drugs and alcohol. In the event you test positive for drugs or alcohol, or if you refuse to submit to a test, you will be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination. Hazard Communication Program. The Hazard Communication Program has been developed by the company in accordance with OSHA regulations 1926.21 and 1926.59 and 1910.1200. Any questions or comments regarding the Hazard Communication Program should be directed to your supervisor and or Venture Construction Manager. Any new chemicals brought to the work site by the company will be included on the hazardous chemical inventory list. A current list of hazardous chemicals is kept at the work site. An inventory list of all known chemicals is available at the office or upon request. Any chemical left after work is completed must be returned to its original container. If it is not returned to the original container, it must be labeled. No unmarked containers of any size are to be left in the work area unattended. A safety data sheet, or SDS, is a fact sheet for chemical which poses a physical or health hazard at your work site. SDS sheets are maintained at the Venture Construction office and are accessible to all employees. The Confined Space Plan. Most accidents which relate to confined spaces occur because employees fail to recognize the potential hazard presented by working in the confined space. Before entering the confined space, make sure that there is adequate ventilation and lighting. Oxygen levels and toxic fume levels shall be tested before entering and periodically while inside of the confined space. The proper PPE, which includes safety glasses, hard hats, hard-soled boots, proper respirator required for the task at hand, etc., shall be worn at all times. The atmosphere must be tested each time before entering a confined space. And before entering a confined space, the crew must provide a confined space entry plan with attendant requirements and an adequate rescue plan. Lockout Tagout Program. Lockout Tagout is the preferred method of isolating machines or equipment from energy sources. This procedure establishes the minimum requirements for the lockout tagout of energy isolating devices. It shall be used to ensure that the machine or equipment is isolated from all potentially hazardous energy and locked out or tagged out before employees perform any servicing or maintenance activities where the unexpected energization, startup, or release of stored energy could cause injury. All equipment shall be locked out or tagged out to protect against accidental or inadvertent operation when such operation could cause injury to personnel. Do not attempt to operate any switch, valve, or other energy isolating device where it is locked or tagged out. Personal protective equipment. General PPE, or personal protective equipment requirements overview for Venture Construction Company. There are hard hats, high visibility shirts or vests, heavy duty work boots with non-slip soles and toe protection as required for specific activities, safety glasses, long pants as required for specific activities, shirts with sleeves, gloves, hearing protection, face shields, or otherwise eye protection for cutting activities. Just a visual, hard hats are required 100% of the time on Venture Construction job sites. Eye protection is required when necessary for the work task. Full-length pants are required by work activity. Hearing protection also required based on work activity. High visibility apparel 100% of the time. Gloves when required. And safety boots 100% of the time. Toe protection when required by work activity. Now, a word on hard hats. Employees working in areas where there is a possibility for danger of head injury from impact or from falling or flying objects or from electrical shock or burns shall be protected by protective helmets. 1926.100. Remember to check your hard hat for any deficiencies. If there are any tears in the suspension or holes in it, you will need a new one. If you have long hair, make sure that it is tucked into your hard hat so that it does not get caught in any equipment. Make sure to check hard hats for discard date, which for most plastic hard hats is going to be a 5-year period. Safety glasses. Eye and face protection must be worn when machines or operations present potential eye or face injuries. Face shields must be worn while performing cutting activities. Goggles will be worn over any employee-owned prescription glasses that do not meet industrial safety standards. Clothing and boots. Workers should be wearing high visibility clothing at all times. Proper work clothes and boots shall be worn by workers at all times. All work boots shall be worn 100% of the time while on the job site. Toe protection, again, will be required based on the work activity. Hearing protection. Hearing protection is essential to protect you from noise. If it's hard to hear someone 3 feet away, then you will need hearing protection. There are two types of hearing protection. You have earplugs and ear muffs. Continuous exposure to loud noises can permanently damage your hearing. Hearing protection shall be worn on a job site when required. Venture Construction Company requires all employees to wear the following PPE at all times, meaning 100% of the time, when on any job site, regardless of the construction work in progress or state of the job site or constructed elements. This PPE includes work shoes or work boots. Clothing shall include long pants, not shorts or skirts, that are required for the activity being performed, whether it's cutting, welding, or etc. And a shirt with at least a 4-inch sleeve, no tank tops. All employees of Venture Construction Company are required to wear the appropriate personal protective equipment when required and by any and all rules and regulations set forth by Venture Construction clients or any federal, state, or local rules and regulations. For clarity, when required includes, but is not limited to, when required by OSHA, when required by work task, when required by posted signage on the job, or when required by Venture Construction Company. First aid. First aid supplies shall be easily accessible when required. The contents of the first aid kit shall include individual sealed packages for each type of item. They must be placed in a weatherproof container. They must be checked by the employer before being sent out to each job. And they must be inspected weekly on each job to ensure that any expended items have been replaced or any expired items have been replenished. Bloodborne pathogens. Bloodborne pathogens kits will be located on top of all first aid kits. The PPE requirements for protection against bloodborne pathogens include having individual sealed packages for each type of item, gloves, gowns, masks, eye protection and face shields, aprons and any other protective body clothing, surgical caps, shoe or boot covers, and any additional appropriate equipment to prevent blood or other potentially infectious materials to pass through to reach the employee's clothes, skin, eyes, or mouth. General fire procedures and fire prevention. In the event of a fire, the general procedures are as follows. Use a fire extinguisher to put out small fires. Evacuate the work area. Call the fire department or 911. Meet at a designated predetermined location. Notify the Venture Construction Safety Coordinator of the fire within 1 hour. Always ensure fire extinguishers are in place and inspected monthly. Always ensure flammable gases and liquids are stored and used properly to prevent fires. The fire extinguishers are on Venture job sites, and they will be capable of fighting Type A, Type B, and Type C fires. Make sure you are aware of the PASS system, PASS, how to operate a fire extinguisher. Make sure you know. Pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the trigger, and sweep side to side to extinguish the fire. PASS. We have 3 types of fires. Again, your types A, B, and C. Type A being your ordinary combustibles, including wood, paper, cloth, as some examples. Your type B fires, which will include your flammable liquids, could be grease, oil, paint, or solvents. And your type C fires, including your live electrical equipment, could be electrical paneling, electrical motors, wiring, or etc. Fire extinguisher classifications, and you have your different types of extinguishers and their uses. You have the water-based extinguisher, which is used on paper, wood, coal, cardboard, and other solid fuel fires, can be used on Class A. You have the foam extinguisher, which is used on solid fuel fires, as well as flammable liquids, which can be used to extinguish Class A and Class B type fires. You have the powder extinguisher, which can be used on any kind of fire, with exception to Class F, cooking oils. And those can be used on Class A, B, and C, Class D, and electrical fires. You have the CO2 used on flammable liquids and electrical fires. And you have the wet chemical extinguisher used on cooking oil fires as well as combustible solid materials. Fire extinguisher requirements. Access to all available firefighting equipment shall be maintained at all times. All firefighting equipment provided by the employer shall be conspicuously located. A fire extinguisher not rated less than 2A shall be provided for each 3,000 square feet of the protected building area. Travel distance from any point of the protected area to the nearest fire extinguisher shall not exceed 100 feet. One or more fire extinguishers rated not less than 2A shall be provided on each floor. In multi-story buildings, at least one fire extinguisher shall be located adjacent to the stairway. One or more fire extinguishers rated not less than 2A shall be provided on each floor. A fire extinguisher not rated less than 10B shall be provided within 50 feet of wherever more than 5 gallons of flammable or combustible liquids or 5 pounds of flammable gas are being used on the job site. Daily fire extinguisher inspections. Fire extinguisher daily inspection checklist includes confirming that the extinguisher is visible, unobstructed, and in its designated location. Verify that the locking pin is intact and the tamper seal is unbroken. Confirm the pressure gauge or indicator is in the operable range or position and lift the extinguisher to ensure it is still full. Fire extinguishers should be inspected yearly by a fire inspection company or be less than 1 year old. If the locking pin is missing, the tamper seal is broken, or the pressure gauge or indicator is inoperable, first and foremost, replace the fire extinguisher if you have another one on hand. And secondly, contact your local fire protection company to get the fire extinguisher replaced. Often this contact information will be listed on the fire extinguisher's tab. Excavation operations. Our job sites will have a lot of trenches that we need for underground utilities or foundation. At any time you're working in a trench or confined excavation that is more than 4 feet deep, it must be braced, shored, or sloped back. Benching is not allowed unless a qualified person provides the design. When working in trenches 4 feet deep or more, there should always be a ladder, stairway, or ramp, or other means of safe egress within 25 feet of the area where people are working. An excavation is defined as any man-made cut, cavity, trench, or depression in an earth's surface formed by earth removal. A trench is a narrow excavation made below the surface of the ground. Do not enter a trench until it has been inspected by a competent person on the job site. This should be done daily. Never, ever go down into a trench unless the excavation is properly sloped, shielded, or shored, not even for a minute. Otherwise, there is a chance of being buried where someone could be crushed, they could suffocate, or potentially die. Trench boxes may be used to protect workers from a potential cave. Ladders. All employees using stairways and ladders shall be trained to recognize, avoid, and eliminate hazards, and shall be trained by a competent person. All ladders shall have manufacturer warning labels and directions legible. All ladders shall be inspected prior to use. No ladders shall be used in a horizontal position as platforms, runways, or scaffolds. Ladders need to be set up and need to be used properly. The use of ladders with broken or missing rungs, broken or split side rails, or other faulty or defective construction is prohibited. It is dangerous to reach out too far from a ladder in any direction. Keep your center of gravity as close to the ladder as possible. All employees must maintain 3 points of contact with the ladder and that belt buckle between the rails. Scaffolding. Scaffolding is a temporary or movable platform for workers, such as bricklayers or painters, to stand or sit on while working at height above the floor or ground. We need to ensure that scaffolds are erected properly and that guardrails and or toe boards are in use. We need to ensure that work platforms are fully decked and secured. We need to ensure that the appropriate competent person for each trade using the scaffold has inspected it and confirmed it is safe for use prior to allowing their personnel to use the scaffold before each work shift. And this is regardless of who erected the scaffold or whomever else has inspected the scaffold. Scissor lifts are considered scaffolds and require employees to have adequate training per equipment manufacturer and proper authorization prior to operation. Harnesses are required per manufacturer. Fall protection. Where employees are exposed to falling 6 feet or more from an unprotected side or edge, the employer must select and use a guardrail system, safety net system, or a personal fall arrest system to protect the worker from falls. Personal fall arrest systems, covers, or guardrail systems must be erected around poles, including skylights, that are more than 6 feet above lower levels. We always need to ensure guardrails are in place, that they are in good working condition, and are properly secured and regularly inspected. Cranes and rigging. Any operators of cranes must have qualification and certification prior to use. Upon completion of assembly, the equipment must be inspected by a qualified person to assure that it is configured in accordance with the manufacturer's equipment criteria. A competent person must begin a visual inspection prior to each shift the equipment is being used, which must be completed before or during that shift. The employer must comply with all manufacturer procedures applicable to the operational functions of equipment, including its use with attachments. A lift plan must be created and maintained before each lift. Hand tools. Inspect your hand tools. Make sure they are free of any obvious physical damages. Keep impact tools free of mushroomed heads. Keep wooden tool handles free of splinters or cracks and ensure a tight connection between the tool head and the handle. Ensure handles on tools are in good condition and always make sure that they are cleaned and stored properly. Electrical, power tools. Inspect your electrical or power tools frequently. Make sure they are free of any obvious physical damages. Electric power operated tools shall either be approved, double insulated, or be properly grounded and used with ground fault circuit interrupters or GFCIs. Ensure extension cords are in good condition and are stored properly. All cords to be used should have a ground prong or ground plug. Out of service tags should be readily available for use for unsafe equipment. Make sure that you check. Are the appropriate machine guards in place, tool guards? All portable, power-driven circular saws have a blade diameter greater than 2 inches. Guards shall be equipped with the guards above and below the base plate or the shoe. The upper guard shall cover the saw to the depth of the teeth except for the minimum arc required to permit the base to be tilted for bevel cuts. The lower guard shall cover the saw to the depth of the teeth except for the minimum arc required to allow proper retraction in contact with the work. When the tool is withdrawn from the work, the lower guard shall automatically and instantly return to the covered position. Forklift safety. Employees shall have adequate training and proper authorization prior to operating forklift equipment. Employees must be certified to operate and able to provide credentials of this certification when requested. Operators shall inspect their equipment prior to beginning of work to ensure the equipment is in safe condition. When forklifts are being used to move material, be cautious of overhead objects such as lights, power lines, etc. Never speed or turn forklift equipment too quickly. When the forklift is not in use, the brake should be set and the machine should be in park. Only one person is allowed to ride on equipment at a time. No riders allowed on equipment. All accidents must be reported to the Venture Construction Office within 1 hour. If an accident occurs, the operator must follow the procedures as outlined in the company's substance abuse program. All operators must wear seatbelts at all times when operating forklift equipment. Mobile elevated work platforms. Examples include scissor lifts, boom lifts, articulating boom lifts, track mounts, truck mounts, etc. Employees shall have adequate training per equipment manufacturer and proper authorization prior to operation. All rescue operations are to be supervised by a competent person. Employees must be certified to operate per equipment manufacturer and able to provide credentials when requested. Operators shall inspect their equipment prior to beginning work to ensure their equipment is in safe operating condition. Never disable the reverse alarm beeper on a lift. Employees shall always stand firmly on the floor of the basket and shall not sit or climb on the edge of the basket or use planks, ladders, or any other device as work platforms. Do not exit a lift until it has reached its lowest position. A harness with retractable lifeline is required during the operation of any and all mobile elevated work platforms. We should never exceed the amount of people allowed on a piece of equipment at any time. Make sure to follow all manufacturer guidelines. And again, all accidents involving equipment, including mobile elevated work platforms and forklifts, must be reported to the Venture Construction Office within 1 hour. If an accident occurs, again, the operator must follow procedures as outlined in the Venture Construction Substance Abuse Program. Housekeeping. At a minimum, please keep your areas clean and trash put in proper disposals to ensure your work areas are cleaned daily. Each employee is responsible for keeping their work areas clean. Always ensure that nails are withdrawn from used lumber. The sweeping compound is recommended to be used to control dust when sweeping on the floor of the job site. Sweeping compounds are a tacky, powdery material that can be scattered over the area to be cleaned and then swept up again to remove dust and waste that has remained on the floor of the job site. Our goal at Venture Construction is to always ensure a clean and safe job site for our employees. Public and property protection. Ensure that any barricades, lights, and signs are provided on the job as needed. For the protection of all, signs such as no smoking, laser in use, keep out, eye protection required, out of order, do not use, and authorized personnel will be posted as needed. Incident and accident reporting. All incidents and accidents must be reported to the area safety coordinator, your immediate supervisor, or the corporate safety administrator within 1 hour and prior to leaving the job site. Accident reports must be 100% complete and submitted to the area safety coordinator and corporate safety administrator within 24 hours of the accident's occurrence. All accidents require a company accident form, an OSHA record-keeping form per federal or state requirement, first report of accident form per specific state insurance requirements, and the substance abuse results form if applicable. All incidents are to be reported, including but not limited to the following: any employee injury, whether it is a Venture Construction employee or a subcontractor of Venture Construction Company, any injury to the public, or any damage to property. All must be reported. Emergency procedures. Superintendent should instruct employees on emergency procedures for the job before the work begins. Notify the area safety coordinator and corporate safety administrator within 1 hour of any emergency. Although the emergency procedures at each job site may vary, the general procedures are as follows. First and foremost, don't panic. If it is needed, call for help or call 911. Provide the dispatcher with detailed information of the emergency. In a trench cave-in situation or a confined space accident, no attempt to rescue shall be made unless employees or personnel have been trained in confined space or trench rescue procedures. Provide first aid if qualified or certified to do so. Do not move any injured personnel unless his or her life is in danger from sources other than the injury itself. Secure the site, shut down any equipment if necessary, account for all personnel on site, and notify the safety coordinator of emergencies, again, within 1 hour. This completes the Venture Construction Safety Orientation video. Upon completion of this video, you must acknowledge that you understand, agree to follow, and sign the Employee Safety Orientation form. Thank you very much.